Welcome, everyone, to our regular scheduled board meeting on March 23rd. It's 7 o'clock in the evening. I'd ask the clerk to please take the roll call.
Trustee Cascatello?
Present.
Trustee Bachner?
Here.
Trustee O'Connell?
Here.
Trustee Gillis?
Here.
Trustee Vasquez?
Here.
Trustee Brennan?
Here.
President Adduci?
Here. If I can ask everyone to please stand to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We'll wait. Okay, thanks. Okay, okie dokie dokie. Okay. Okay, so I think it's all, so we'll just take everyone now. So Lucia? Guide us? Of course.
Hi everyone, my name is Lucia.
Lucia, yeah, do you mind? Yeah.
Oh, is it on now? Okay,
Yes.
great. Hi everyone, my name is Lucia Giudice. My husband John Leonard and I live at 146 Keystone. Like the majority of River Forest residents, I support the development of Madison and Ashland. However, like many residents, I have questions and concerns. My statement tonight will focus on the village's due diligence of the developers. The village has provided few specifics on its due diligence analysis of the finalist developers. The village failed to recognize that given the many challenges with Lake and Lathrop development, residents now demand more and not less information on due diligence efforts for any future developers. In a memo dated March 18, 2026, the village recently did provide summary information on the scope and results of the due diligence finalist developers, presumably in response to repeated requests from residents. However, given the importance of that development, residents still require more details than a few paragraphs in the recent memo. The March 18th memo mentions information provided to trustees describing the results of the due diligence analyses of the two developer finalists. Could that information have been shared with residents if appropriately redacted? The March 18th memo also makes no mention of risks identified from the due diligence analysis and any related mitigation strategies. For example, did the reported COVID violations of the finalist developer surface in the due diligence? As a management consultant at Deloitte and PwC, I participated in hundreds of due diligence projects, and every single one of those projects identified risks. Is the village really saying there are no risks, or have those risks not just been shared at this time? Why was the due diligence performed on the two finalists rather than the 7 or 5 responding developers? The additional information might have provided valuable information in the selection of the 2 and then 1 finalist developer. I realize that there would be additional costs, but given the importance of this development and the fact that funding was found for a firm to develop communications about the development, I would assume funds could have been secured for this additional due diligence. Was the due diligence performed on all the various legal and corporate entities that the finalist developer has created over the years? As you know from the residents' questions early on, there was confusion as to who 531 Partners was and its related corporate structure. Did the initial application require the developer to list all of its various corporate entities so a complete due diligence was performed? If not, then the due diligence that was done is insufficient. Residents would simply like to understand the details of what was included in the village's due diligence analysis, the results, and how it plans to mitigate any identified risks. Given there are very few opportunities for development in River Forest, and I think everyone would agree that the last development in Lake at Lathrop did not go as planned, we need to get it right this time. And the foundation for getting it right is comprehensive due diligence. Getting it right at this time also means sharing details of its due diligence with residents. Thank you.
Thank you. See if I get this right. Boonley Tan? Boonlai. Okay, sorry.
Good evening. My name is Boon Lai Tan. I live at 34 Park, and I'm here to address the Madison Ashland development. I have many serious concerns about this development. The feedback and assurances from the developer and village has not eased my concern. I'm still having trouble believing that a 72-unit rental will only add 2 additional students to our local school population. Okay, I was later told that no more than 10. This is still a low number for me. Then there's this parking, traffic, and loading issue. Madison is a busy and narrow street. A development this size, with so many units and without easement, will definitely have a big impact on nearby neighborhood streets. I was told at the open house the impact is going to be minimal. Assurances like that these units will all be high-rise, high-end rentals. The developer will own and operate the development. He is going to be here for the long terms, and he has no intention of selling. These are nice words, but meaningless after approval is given. To the village. So convince me that these concerns are nothing to be concerned about. If these are no issue burgers, then the village should just make the developer provide some meaningful financial guarantees for the major concern we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Patty?
Good evening, Patty Hennick. I'm on 700 Bonnie Bray. Let me start by saying that I, too, support development. After the failed Lake and Lathrop project, I think everyone at this table would want to go above and beyond to ensure we get it right this time. With a project of this magnitude, it seems reasonable to expect that our commissions, along with the village board, would have had the opportunity to extensively examine developer proposals before settling on one. I recently discovered that did not happen. I reviewed past minutes for the Economic Development Commission and found in the August 13th, 2025 minutes, quote, Chairman Brown asked what role the EDC might have in the process of the property development, end quote. No answer appeared in the minutes, so I turned to the audio. In that meeting, I heard EDC members explicitly discuss why they wanted to review the proposals. Several commissioners emphasized that multiple reviewers would strengthen the process and build trust, also stating interaction with multiple commissions is better than through a single lens. Commissioners described the vetting process as follows. We can compare from an economic standpoint to determine what is the best course. We want to know what is being proposed to give a sense to the village that this was seriously looked at by multiple people and not just run through. EDC commissioners elaborated on their mission. This is about economic development, and that is our role. It doesn't make sense for this commission not to be part of this process. It makes sense for this commission to work with JLL and be part of the process on 5 or 6 levels. We're the community who knows the community. And one commissioner asked, can we have an ad hoc commission to review proposals to help JLL? Assistant Village Administrator Jessica Spencer responded that the development would proceed through the plan development process and be reviewed by the Development Review Board. She did allow the village board could choose to deviate and involve the EDC, and said she would let the board know that the EDC wanted to review the proposals. She never mentioned the non-disclosures between JLL and the interested developers. Why not, if she knew they existed? If these NDAs are common practice, how is it the EDC had the expectation they could and should see the proposals? What happened next is troubling. The EDC never received the proposals to review. Instead, on August 25th, 2025, merely 7 days after that EDC meeting, the proposals were presented to the village board in executive session only, meaning the discussion of the proposed developments did not occur publicly and could not have been reviewed extensively. 2 trustees were absent from that meeting, so the entire board did not review the proposals either. So the reality appears to be this. The commission responsible for economic development did not review the proposals. Why not? An NDA could have been written to allow the EDC to review proposals. The village board may have violated Open Meetings Act when choosing a developer. And 2 elected officials were denied the opportunity to review the proposals. Why couldn't a decision wait? It was known in July that Trustee Brennan would not be at that August 25th meeting. Given these facts, it is entirely reasonable for residents to ask whether a sound process for success was followed. It is unclear why this is being fast-tracked without input from more experienced people, especially since our village staff has little to no development experience. Finally, in a recent Wednesday Journal article, Jessica is quoted as saying, "I don't know what to say regarding the personal memories of certain trustees," responding to 3 trustees who publicly shared they were not given information on Cigar Oasis. I find her insinuation of faulty memory both unprofessional and insulting, especially since Victor would not have been asked to be here tonight if communication with trustees was as good as Jessica stated for the article and what is stated in that Cigar Oasis memo. If we are to believe what is in the memo, why wasn't Jessica, President Adducey, or any trustee able to share these details March 9th? It was absurd to instead hear President Adducey say, "We don't know the business relationship between Marty Paris and Victor." It showed a lack of due diligence and revisionist history. So far, as I have read the Cigar Oasis memo,
Okay, Patty, you're at
changing
5
FAQ answers and quotes in the Wednesday Journal article, what I am seeing is a reactionary spin to residents calling out a flawed process intended to look as if real developer vetting took place. I see residents and our EDC commission being misled. This is a significant development opportunity we need to get right. On behalf of the residents, I urge the board to go back to the EDC to more fully vet
Patty,
developer
I
proposals.
know you want to follow rules, so you're
Otherwise,
at 5 minutes and
how
30
can we
seconds. Can you
possibly-
please
if you
do
just
what
let me
everybody
do
else
this
is
last
doing?
line.
Oh, go ahead.
It's an important one.
Of course.
If it doesn't go back to the EDC to be fully vetted, otherwise, how can we possibly trust that the best development for our community was chosen? Thank you.
All right. All right, Dan? Dan?
Hi, my name is Dan Labarge, a resident at 22 Lathrop. I've been a resident for 20 years in River Forest, and I wanted to just kind of talk about my disappointment with this development. We're going to talk a lot, I think, about process and about developers in the next couple of days, but I think even if you have the best developer and the best process, this building is far too large for the footprint. I looked at all the different FAQs and all the different paperwork that the village gave out, and I was struck by some of the things that were said. One in particular was that there's 15 5-story buildings in River Forest, and that's accurate. However, though, how many of those 15 buildings have 70 units of rentals? That's kind of unique, isn't it? 0 offsets, virtually no green space whatsoever. 33 parking spots that are going to be in a public alley, in already a very congested area. And I know there's going to be some development on that property. We want to have development, but to have that type of size just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I hope that you guys can go back and rethink this. I don't know about the other 6 or 7 applications that were sent in by other developers. I have a hard time believing that you can fit more than 70 units on that property unless you go to 6 stories. It doesn't seem even possible because you've already cut down the parking to 1 space per unit. You're taking a public alley and you're making it half parking. So I would just, ask the board respectfully to go back and look at some other options. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dan. Phyllis?
Hi, Phyllis Rubin, 411 Ashland, 6B. So I also want to speak to the vetting process for this Madison Street development. So we know now that Victor, and I don't know if I can say his name correctly, Yakovic, something like that. I don't know. Victor, the developer, is the same person who refused to vacate Cigar Oasis on Lake Street and caused an additional extension for the Lake and Lathrop project. I listened to the board recording back in 2019, and it was said that he caused the village a problem, a significant problem, because he wouldn't vacate. So in your packet for this meeting, you state that this problem in 2019 was not considered in the vetting of this developer because Cigar Oasis was a tenant of Marty Paris. And for the Madison Street project, he would not be a tenant, he would be a developer. Well, I really don't think we residents care whether he was a tenant or a developer. In fact, I think if he's a developer, he's going to have more power as a developer that you choose versus being a tenant of Marty Paris. So I think if you didn't vet that, I don't know why you wouldn't have included that in the vetting process. Because his refusal to vacate showed his character and his business behavior. And his behavior shows a disrespect for the needs of others, which is us, the village, and a refusal to accept reality because all the other businesses had vacated their spot because they knew they had to. Remember also that he wanted to create an outdoor cigar smoking lounge in the midst of condo buildings with balconies, including mine. He claimed bushes would keep the smoke from the residents. If you believe that, I have a tract of land on a vulnerable cliff in California I will sell you. Also, what we know now is that he didn't use union workers for his Forest Park building right across the street. And I know in the last meeting, Kathy, you said you're a real supporter of unions. Well, he didn't use them, and he may not use them now. So if you're a real supporter of unions, you've got to support the village hiring union workers and a developer who will hire union workers. I would say that the board should look at what this developer has done, not what he says he will do, because past behavior is the best prediction of future behavior. This developer was not well vetted. Board, heed the red flags, or at least orange flags. I don't know if they're red. You judge. And I absolutely agree with the first speaker who said, we expect more vetting this person, this developer, than you did for Lake and Lathrop, because we can see how Lake and Lathrop ended. So you ignored the red flags with Marty Paris, and you seem to be working hard to ignore these. Why would you repeat that mistake?
Okay. Lois? Thank you.
Yes, I too have concerns about the vetting and the reliability of the contractor, and I have not great knowledge about the vetting process, but I think it would be good to see previous developments that he has done, or if he has done any. But I want to ask a question of the board. It seems to me that they had serious problems with the Lake and Lathrop project because of the contamination of the soil. Has that all been tested and remediated on this project? Thank you.
Okay. Tanya? Do I have that right?
Tanju?
Oh, Tanju, sorry.
All right. Hey. Hello. Okay, Tanju Sofu from 1407 Clinton Place. I do have some similar concerns as expressed by Dan, so I don't want to repeat them, but I think that there are some issues associated with density of that development and specific corner of our village. We might, some of us, most of us might consider that to be at the margin of our village. So having something popping up there, creating traffic problem, parking problem, might not impact a majority, but being out of respect for the residents of that community, this could be a sizable, significant development. Before coming over here, I looked at our map. The 70 plus units is roughly equivalent of more than three full block of single family housing in the center of our village. So it's a very sizable, very heavy population density. So I would encourage you to reconsider that. We had that debate, I believe, about a year and a half to 2 years ago. Changes in zoning regulations to allow buildings of this size, and it was not accepted by you, by this board. Going back to that deliberation and then perhaps revisiting, reminding the potential bidders, saying that, hey, this debate a year and a half ago is still valid. Any proposal that exceeds the zoning regulations should be discouraged, I think, would be the way to go. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, Margie?
Margie Seconder, 500 Block River Oaks Drive. The village's plan development process isn't working for residents, for members of village boards and commissions, and for staff. The process isn't inclusive, doesn't tap talents that reside here. It obfuscates and reaches decisions that seem predetermined. The process needs to change. The village board had 4 recent meetings held in closed session, citing an exception that allowed it to discuss setting a price for sale or lease of its property, specifically on August 25th, September 22nd, November 17th, and January 12th. The agenda for August 25th listed an exception for an employment contract. In a motion to enter closed session, Trustee Vasquez added the price-setting exception under an Open Meetings Act. With 2 of 6 trustees absent from the meeting, 4 trustees viewed the village staff's evaluation and recommendations on 5 developers. The board unanimously determined 2 finalists to advance. Not my words, and unanimously determined. But that means a vote occurred in closed session and not on the agenda. Both actions violate the Open Meetings Act. Meeting audio and minutes both state the board will not take any action on property-related matters during or after the session. On November 17th, the board interviewed 2 finalists in closed session. Again, in closed session on January 12th, the board, quote, unanimously determined, in quote, 531 Partners and its proposal the best option. The Economic Development Commission, the EDC, also met in closed session 3 times, September 3rd, October 29th, and December 3rd, citing the same open meetings exception for price setting on the sale or lease of property. Did the village board delegate price setting to the EDC? 7 meetings over 7.5 months in closed session over many hours, some 2 to 3 hours long, for price setting exceptions suggest discussions well beyond price setting. A public body may not discuss in closed session ancillary topics. The Attorney General's office specifically cites development where public bodies may not discuss related issues in closed session, but must limit discussions in this exception to price setting. The Attorney General is currently reviewing an OMA complaint on recent closed sessions. The village board also visited the two finalist development sites. While residents knew nothing of developers' interest, the 12 developers who signed a non-disclosure, the 7 who JLL presented to the board, the 5 qualified developers that the 4 trustees evaluated August 25th, the 2 finalists chosen by staff and consultants, or 531 Partners. Residents lost out on reviewing other proposals and designs, learning of developers' qualifications, hearing board consideration and concerns. 531 Partners has yet to release its north elevation abutting the single-family homes. The village board and our community lost out on valuable expertise from the EDC and other boards and commissions we could have tapped during selection. All intentional. Where's a financial analysis? Where's a redevelopment agreement? Where are details of the $600,000 or $700,000 in announced tax benefits? And when will those come about? 2040 at the end of the TIF? What economic analysis did Ryan LLC provide for $24,000 thus far? Who approved the TIF expenses like the $55,500 fence around LCFS? Where are transparency, resident input, and accountability in our development process? Thank you.
Debbie.
Good evening, Debbie Borman. I live in the Madison TIF, and about half of my taxes are paying for the expenses that come out of the TIF. I'm commenting on the portion of the memo from Matt Walsh and Jessica Spencer attached to the meeting minutes tonight concerning the official questionnaire submitted by the proposed developer. As part of the proposal process, the village asked a direct question: have you ever been involved in litigation or project defaults? 531 Partners responded, quote, "Neither of us have ever been involved in project defaults. Both of us have been involved in minor litigation in the normal course of business over the years. Please note that neither partner has ever been involved with a project in which a mechanic's lien has been filed against the property." That is a false statement. Cook County Clerk of the Circuit Court Public Records reveal evidence of mechanics lien litigation connected to projects involving this developer under his own name and other prior LLCs. For example, mechanics liens filed April 10, 2010 by Wheatland Bank involving 4 properties: 4847 Caldwell, 3415 West North Avenue in Melrose Park, 2345 West North Avenue in Chicago, and 1945 Cornell Avenue in Melrose Park. These actions relate to loan defaults and guarantee obligations totaling several $1,000,000. There is also a mechanics lien litigation tied to the condominium development at 1440 Wabash in Chicago involving failure to pay a general contractor. That case, filed in 2011, did not resolve until 2016. These are not ambiguous matters. They directly contradict the statement that this developer has never had any mechanics liens on his projects. Providing inaccurate information in response to a direct village questionnaire is a serious omission. It is equally serious that the village's consultant, Ryan LLC, which the village has so far paid almost $24,000 out of Madison TIF funds, did not identify or disclose this information through independent review. The questionnaire also allowed the developer to characterize a significant litigation as minor. The litigation record shows otherwise. There are multiple foreclosure actions, including a 2011 construction loan foreclosure in the amount of approximately $4.56 million, tied to properties at 6604, 6614, and 6618 to 6620 West Diversey in Chicago. There is additional foreclosure activity of approximately $911,000 tied to 837 South Western Avenue, along with other activity connected to 1855 West Diversey. There's a breach of contract litigation involving Fidelity Title, involving roughly $2 million, not resolved until 2016. There are documented loan defaults, including a Citibank matter resulting in a judgment of over $25,000. This is not a pattern of isolated or minor disputes. It is a history of significant financial and legal exposure. Additionally, a 2018 tenant lawsuit against Chuck Westfall and his entity, Start Chicago, alleged serious violations of the Chicago Housing Code and the RLTO Landlord-Tenant Act in Chicago. The allegations included rodents, structural deterioration, leaks, and mold in the building. This final point is significant because the developer has represented that this project will be held and managed internally, not by an independent management company. The integrity of the application process so far is in question here. When a proposal advances based on incomplete or inaccurate disclosures, and when that goes unverified, the outcome is fatally flawed. Everyone here tonight has spoken about due diligence, and I will too. Due diligence is not optional after the fact. This development record cannot be repaired by adding information now or revisiting inconsistent or withheld information to boost the documentation. The appropriate course is not to continue forward and attempt to justify the result. The appropriate course is to stop, acknowledge the deficiencies in the process, and start over with full transparency, full vetting, and complete and verified information. Anything less asks this board and this community to accept a decision built on a flawed record. Thank you.
Okay, Greg?
Greg Abkarian, I live at 1226 William. Like all the other people, I'm against this development, but I am not against development in River Forest, especially on this property. We do need to do something with it. But through this process, as everybody has said, has been pretty flawed. Also, I went to college. I never used it, but I went to college and was a major in PR. One thing I know is you don't need to hire a PR firm as a city to promote this project. If it's such a good project, you wouldn't need that. The city would be like, yes. I've been to many of these meetings, not just for this. I mean, the board has seen me here. They have seen Kelly here. We have fought about a bunch of things with the city. And in all of those fights, the board has always had somebody in the audience speak on their side. I have been to these meetings, and there hasn't been a single human being that has come up here and said, we are so glad that this project is happening. Not one person in any of these meetings. And as I always say at the very end of all of this, we are your constituents. We put you here. And I know you don't get paid, but you're here to do what we want and the best thing for the city. And this by far is not it. The fact that you have to spend outside money or money on outside help for PR. You have to have these, you spent $20K on these neighborhood dialogues that usually go nowhere. I was going to show up to the one you had at the library on Saturday, but I decided I had way better things to do by picking up dog poop in my backyard. So that's how much I think that they're very irrelevant. Because even if we go there and give you our concerns, you don't listen. I have been a resident here forever. My old neighbor, none of you will know him because he was 72 before he moved. Mr. Simmons said to my mom, River Forest has a board, but everything is done in the basement within 6 people. And it seems that's how this was decided. And then you guys just rubber stamped it. Nobody wants this project. And no matter how much money you keep spending to send us mailers, maybe $60K or so in the mailings, we don't want this project. And as Debbie has said, the things that the developers answered were false. Things that Patty has said are things that you guys discussed in the board meetings in 2019 against what he was doing. If he was such a bad tenant at the point, then why would you be like, if he was a bad tenant, he's going to be a great developer? I mean, that makes no sense whatsoever, right? That just makes none. So either the 6 people in the basement are friends with somebody, or you guys just don't really, you just are like, we need to put something up there. And for your legacy of a board, and you, Kathy, you would think after what happened at Lake and Lathrop, you would think that this would be the most important thing on your agenda to get right. All right? I mean, you didn't listen to us. Now, I always will bring this up in every meeting. You didn't listen to us when we said, hey, there should be term limits, which wouldn't have affected any of you because you still would have been able to be in this offices for another 8 years, but you, again, said no. You don't listen to your constituents. Maybe you should. Thank you.
All right, Greg. All right, that concludes the public comment. So we will go into now our two special presentations. And we start with our Police Department Officer of the Year, which is good. Jim, welcome.
Madam President, Village Board, Administrator Walsh, and community, welcome. On behalf of the Police Department, it is my honor to welcome Officer Eddie Coleman as we recognize him as the River Forest Police Department's Officer of the Year for 2025. Before we begin, I would also like to recognize the family members who are here to support him tonight. Eddie's wife, Jessica, his mother-in-law, Dora, father-in-law, Richard, and his sister-in-law, Michelle. Thank you for joining us this evening and for the support you provide to Eddie every day. Officer Eddie Coleman grew up on the west side of Chicago and was raised by his grandmother, Thelma Coleman, who sadly passed away last year. Her influence and dedication played a significant role in shaping the person Eddie is today. Officer Coleman currently resides in the neighboring community of Berwyn. Eddie attended high school at Walther Christian Academy in Melrose Park and later continued his education at DeVry University on the north side of Chicago, where he earned his bachelor's degree in Justice Administration while graduating on the Dean's List. Officer Coleman joined the River Forest Police Department in May of 2022. The Officer of the Year Committee met on February 11th, 2026 to review this year's nominations. The nominees included Officer Coleman, Oscar Gonzalez, Paul Micah, and Agnes Murillo, each of whom demonstrated exceptional service and dedication to the department and the community. It is my privilege to announce that Officer Eddie Coleman has been selected as the River Forest Police Department Officer of the Year for 2025. In his nomination, Officer Coleman was described as highly motivated, highly self-motivated, and consistently demonstrating superior performance in both criminal investigations and traffic enforcement. He has also shown a strong commitment to officer wellness and physical fitness. Throughout 2025, Officer Coleman conducted more than 300 traffic stops and 20 high-quality arrests. With that, I'd like to present this award to Officer Coleman.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Yep, I knew there was more to that speech. Here it is. It's right behind. I put it. I shuffled it all up.
Yeah.
We'll do the rest. Why not?
Why not?
Eddie's proactive policing led to the arrest of numerous felony offenders and the recovery of multiple stolen vehicles and illegal weapons, removing them from our streets and helping keep our community safe. Officer Coleman received several awards throughout the year. One example occurred on May 18th, 2025, when he was assigned to plainclothes duty due to a series of recent burglaries in the village. While patrolling side streets, he observed a vehicle driving suspiciously and determined it had been reported stolen. Officer Coleman broadcast the information over the radio and continued to follow the vehicle while waiting for backup units. Once additional officers arrived, he safely initiated a felony stop. The three occupants were detained without incident. After conducting interviews and consulting with the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, Officer Coleman secured criminal charges against the driver for possession of stolen motor vehicle and against one offender for criminal trespass to a vehicle. Further investigation revealed that the driver had 66 prior arrests, including numerous burglary and theft-related charges, including murder and robbery. This incident represents just one example of Officer Coleman's proactive policing and dedication to protecting our community. Beyond Eddie's accomplishments, he is known throughout the department for his positive attitude, professionalism, and integrity. He consistently comes to work ready to serve and represents the village of River Forest with distinction. His positive demeanor and reliability make him a tremendous asset to this department. In recognition of his achievements, Officer Coleman will represent the department at the Law Enforcement Memorial in Springfield this May. Please join me in congratulating Officer Coleman once again.
Yeah. Yay.
And so then Eddie went and did something else. This is unrelated to Officer of the Year. but it speaks to why he was nominated and selected for the year. This year, on February 20th, 2026, Officer Coleman responded to 1031 Forest for a report of an unconscious individual. Upon arrival, Officer Coleman immediately assessed the situation to determine the subject was unresponsive and not breathing. Without hesitation, he initiated CPR, taking decisive and life-saving action during a critical medical emergency. Moments later, the fire department arrived on scene. As a direct result of Officer Coleman's swift intervention and seamless coordination with fire personnel, the subject regained a pulse. The patient was transported to Rush Oak Park Hospital for advanced medical care. It was later determined that the individual had suffered a heart attack and is expected to have a positive recovery. Officer Coleman's rapid assessment, immediate response, and decisive action were instrumental in saving the life of a husband and father in the midst of a life-threatening emergency. Eddie's professionalism, courage, and commitment to preserving life reflect the highest standards of law enforcement service and bring great credit upon himself, the River Forest Police Department, and the Village of River Forest. Congratulations.
Yep, very good. Yeah, thank you, officer. Good job. It's good.
Thank you for your service.
All right.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Chief.
you.
Thank you. You're going to get a few pictures out there? Yeah. Good job. Thank you. Yeah. Jeez. There's our fine staff. Good stuff. Okay. Thank you, Chief, and congratulations, Officer Coleman. So we'll go ahead now and ask Victor to, if you don't mind, take the podium. We'll talk a little bit about the main issue, which was the involvement with Scar Oasis.
Thank you again. My name is Victor Yakovlevich. As we see each other again from the good side, the bad side, and all the sides. I'm happy to be here, and I happen to clarify comments, some of the comments that were said, some of the life experiences, and I'm going to read basically two statements. And after that, you guys can have a discussion and ask any questions that you would like. One, starting off, after 30 years doing this, things will happen to you. And that's why we're standing here today doing the same thing what I've started in early 90s. Throughout my career, I have partnered with firms such as Inland Realty, Michigan Avenue Real Estate Group, along with many of my own projects, starting in 93, 94, as well as working with banks including Chase, Parkway Bank, Harris Bank, Marquette Bank, and many others. I have completed more than 100 projects in Chicagoland area since I have started. Given the background, it is both surprising and discouraging to feel as though I have to continually justify my professionalism, knowledge of the market, and business practices. To clarify regarding Lake and Lathrop, my partner and I had no involvement with the development or the village of River Forest and have unfortunately become associated with this issue that we were not of our making. Related to Oasis, after purchasing the business as one of three investors, actually four investors, and signing a new multi-year lease with stipulation, which I will refer to the next, we attempted to work collaboratively with Marty Paris and his legal team, but these efforts were unsuccessful and unfortunately led to litigation. While the court ruled against us, we chose not to appeal and instead moved forward. Following the situation, we attempted to remain in River Forest at my own building, 400 Ashland, which is a commercial building, not a residential building, and began the process of relocating our business to 400 Ashland. After our initial meeting with Eric Palm at that time and his team, we were told to proceed with the preliminary drawings of hiring an architect and filing necessary paperwork. However, after 2 meetings and community backlash related to smoking concerns, we decided it was best to withdraw and relocate to Oak Park. These decisions were made independently of the village of River Forest. I want to reiterate that my partner and I are committed to this project and have approached it in good faith. We would generally welcome the opportunity to move forward with this project and remain part of River Forest community. At the same time, we do not believe it is fair to compare our situation with that of Sedgwick Properties or Marty Paris, as these matters are separate from our proposal. I have been fully committed to this process from the beginning. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Victor.
Second part, and the
Yep.
most important part, lawsuit over Cigar Oasis. Vladimir Erezina, which was an attorney and a partner with Cigar Oasis, I was brought in as an investor, one of 4 investors. Cigar Oasis Ltd. signed a lease on May 13th, 2016, with then owner of the building at 7619 Lake Street in River Forest. A copy of the lease and the rider to this lease are both attached, which everyone has. The landlord was trust for the beneficiary of West Suburban Management, and lease was signed by Ali El Safar, I believe, and by Vlad, by me, meaning Vlad Erezina. Just to clarify, I was never part of any lease. I am part of the Oasis, and I'm still owner of Oasis. But at this particular time, I was one of 4 owners only as an investor. As you see in this rider, the lease was for an initial term throughout November 30th, 2016, which would be automatically extended for another 3 years. There's attachment to the rider. If developer's redevelopment agreement was terminated, since it was terminated, it would automatically go into 3 years. Since the agreement was in fact terminated, you can find it in FOIA, the lease was automatically extended throughout November 2019. As partners, everyone will fight for their business. If you owned it, you will fight for it, no matter what it is. And that's just a fact. If you or anybody else. However, after Lake and Lathrop LLC, affiliated with Sedgwick Development LLC, bought the property in late 2018, they filed a lawsuit against Cigar Oasis Ltd, seeking to end lease early. That lawsuit was filed in Cook County, which is on the record, February 25th of 19. Ultimately, the summer of 2019, the court sided in favor of Lake and Lathrop Partners LLC and declared the lease to Cigar Oasis Ltd. to be terminated. As a result, Cigar Oasis Ltd. vacated the property immediately on Lake Street on July of 2019, and was dissolved as a corporation by Illinois Secretary of State on September 19th. and the new location for Cigar Oasis, Oak Park, was open September 2019. This is very important. The village was never involved, and I mean never involved, in the lawsuit between Lake and Lathrop Partners, LLC, and Cigar Oasis, Ltd. That was strictly a lawsuit between Lake and Lathrop Partners, LLC, the landlord at that time, and Cigar Oasis, Ltd., the tenant. And that's all I have to say.
Okay. Victor, if you just can wait, I mean, we're just, if this is, we brought you in because this was important to
Absolutely.
talk through. And first of all, thank you. This is a really important development for us. It means a lot. I do agree with you that you cannot compare developments in town. I mean, if we do, we should compare Sheridan, but we don't. So it's fine. But this is an important one. And so there are questions, just general questions, and I'll open it up to the bill. I mean, you've answered it. I mean, I was aware of it in 2019. I was aware of it in 2021. But that doesn't mean, everyone else was aware of it. So it's a good idea to have you here and have us discuss this so that we can move on with the application. So I'll ask any of the, board members if you've got any questions you want to ask Victor about this or any other issues you might have, so we can get it off the table. Okay, well, okay.
Victor, thank you for coming in today and talking through your perspective with Cigar Oasis. So what you are saying is that you had in your lease with Cigar Oasis with Lake and Lathrop a 3-year extension that you thought, you could go on with because there was an agreement, the agreement with Lake and Lathrop failed. So you were conducting business and trying to keep your business steady, essentially. Is that what you're saying? And then when the court told you that you needed to vacate in 2019, that's when you eventually vacated?
That is correct. Vlad Arizina, as I said earlier, represented us. He was an owner. He put this deal together. We had a rider in our lease. As I said, it automatically extended for another 3 years. We tried to talk to Marty Paris. They have never approached us one time as they did the other tenants and said, hey, listen, let's talk, let's sit down. They just went directly to court. And our understanding and believe, and to this day, that we had the right for another 3 years in our lease because the development agreement expired or was terminated, actually.
When you were in the process for being vetted for this project, did you disclose this to the village, this relationship with Cigar Oasis?
I don't think it was irrelevant to this development. I'm a developer. Cigar Oasis was a $7,000 investment for me, so that was further from my mind because it had nothing to do with what I do for a living.
But 4 out of the 6 of us sat here and we knew about it. So I understand what you're saying. I understand the question you're asking.
My real question, or the question that's behind that, is did this eviction process delay Lake and Lathrop's progression? Did it cause material delay to the project?
Yeah.
It did. And
2 months.
2 months delay.
Material, yes.
And did that impact that development's ability to get financing? So during that time, was that...
That's a hard question to ask her because we went through so many ups and downs relative to his money.
And then the ultimate question is was this impactful in the failure of that project? Was this particular piece, did it have an impact on the outcome?
I might be the only one that can, maybe you, Rez, too, can answer that. But I know Katie and Erica were on the board at the time. All I can tell you is that, you know, between, I think it was February 2019 and in July, by some date in 2019, I can't remember the month, was it October? When did we extend the RDA? In 2019, we extended the RDA at that point in time. And yes, there was
a agreement in March, and then there was again extended in October of 2019.
Right. And during that period of time, they were battling. But I mean, nobody likes delays. I mean, I'm clearly said that. I mean, nobody liked delays, but you know, I know we were working with all the tenants. We were working with Garfield. We were working with Tulupia. We were working with Sandra from, you know, the spa. So, you know, all of that was kind of going on at the same time.
But Cigar Oasis was the last.
They were the
piece,
last
okay.
because I think you were standing, you know, kind of like saying, hey, we still have our agreement, and you've yet extended the agreement, so therefore it must be terminated. So we kind of took advantage of the language, right? But, I mean, I don't know if that...
And I was one of the 4 voices. So no matter what I said, there were 4 other voices.
Yeah. Well, the owner of the...
Correct.
Being a tenant, right. Didn't matter. I think what we're saying is that it moved a little bit in terms of our ability to... But I don't think it was a...
But again...
Yeah, more than a couple months.
The tenant felt he had a right to be there because the RDA was. And so what happened was, instead of talking to him, the landlord went and litigated.
Right.
So.
And so that's his right too. So.
Yeah, I guess I would like just to put on the table that, again, if you own a business, and again, Victor, you were a minor, what I'm hearing is a small investment in this business, a business is going to try to advocate for themselves. And I cannot believe, and I don't have anything to back this up other than, I mean, if we go back to Lake and Lathrop, again, we're going back to 2010 at the very beginning, if you would like to, there's been a lot of delays. And to basically say that it failed because of a 2 months of litigation is, I find that hard to believe.
It's a question, not an
I'm not saying, but I guess that's my statement. I didn't mean to sound rough.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Oh, it's a good question.
And I think it was a consideration around the table as well when
Right.
we were voting. Like,
yes, we did. We talked
And
through
as
it.
to mention, I think they happened to be the last ones. There were others that we were working with
Yes.
that caused, you can argue, they caused delays too for this whole process. So it's hard to say that it only happened or he was the cause or Cigar Oasis was the cause of this whole delay for Lake and Lathrop. There was a number of other parties that were
Right. There's at least 3 others that we were working
Right.
with, trying to work with. And some decided to move to Oak Park and some decided to stay in River Forest. So. Okay.
Victor, thanks for coming in tonight, and Chuck also. Do you have anything that you want to say about, in response to the residents' concerns about mechanics liens and defaults that were raised earlier?
I can answer some of those questions if you prefer. Absolutely.
If you're comfortable responding,
I'd
like to hear your
I have
response.
no problem. It's transparency. Again, starting the business in '93, today is 2016. When you go through a long, sustainable, and you're still here to survive ups and downs, especially crash of 2008, there's a reason that I'm standing here and I'm fighting for this project, period. 2018, the biggest institutions in this market, in what I do, financial institution that would borrow us money, have failed. Particular one that's everything is on is Wintrust Bank. I did not have a loan with Wintrust Bank. I had a loan with Wheatland Bank. They bought the note of my soccer facility that was in Melrose Park Sports Zone. And when the market crashed, everything crashed. They basically are the only bank that I did not have a personal relationship because my note was bought, and that was not worked out in my bankruptcy. Every single other note I still have to today are the same banks that I'm working with that I read from this paper. So yes, I lost that building. Yes, they foreclosed on Sports Zone. Mechanics liens at that time were also from contractors that did not get paid because we did not get funded, and the note was sold to Wintrust Bank. So we have zero control of who's going to find a mechanic lien and who's not going to find, because we lost the project to the bank. They have to deal with the bank. My name is on there because I was the last owner, but Wintrust owned the note, as they do on Lake and Lathrop.
Victor, the 100 projects that you referred to, what percentage of those did you act as general contractor on, and what percentage did you have ownership on?
The only general contractor that I did was with Michigan Avenue Real Estate Group, the 11 years, which is about 27 or 28 projects. All the other ones are my own.
And so the one that was referred to earlier on Madison Street, you do not own that. You just acted as general contractor for Michigan Avenue?
That is correct. We do not pay the subs. The owner pays the subs.
So could you just take a minute and just explain that process?
Basically, as we develop the property as a general contractor, there's an owner statement, there's a general contractor statement. We do the general contractor statements for all the trades they're getting paid. It goes to the owner. The owner adds his owner statement, and then they file for a draw to the title company. That's basically, we process the invoices, we send that as a package to the ownership. The ownership contacts the title company that we're working with. Everyone gets paid.
And that's the property that was referred to earlier tonight as having not used union labor. So was there a giant rat at that location?
That is false. We have 40, sometimes 50% of the union trades on our projects. They were unions strike, not against a general contractor, not V3 or Vivify. They strike against a certain contractor. For that matter, they striked against the mason because they wanted to bring him in the union back because he used to be a union mason years and years ago until 2008, and they all left. So they strike like 3 days or 2 days against him. Then he sat down with them, they worked it out, and it was gone.
So as the GC, do you have the decision-making role to hire the mason that's not in the union?
We have the right to hire whoever we want. Union, non-union, we hire union, we hire non-union. We have a budget to work with. We try to fit all the trades within that budget. Obviously, the union contractors are the best contractors, so we push as much as we can on that. And some of the unions do not want to bid small projects. They're not interested. Right. We have over 980 list of union contractors. I met with them throughout the years. We send our bids to all of them. Maybe we'll get 2 or 3 response for a 30-unit building or 50-unit building. That's not what they do best.
So do you have contracts with other municipalities like us where they include clauses that try to ensure that the development uses union workers?
Yeah, I mean, we worked with the city that way. We're working with any municipality that.
I think that's a misunderstanding. Hey, Chuck, if you can speak to that.
Yeah, I mean, my knowledge.
Go. Yeah, you want to get to that.
So I'm Chuck. I'm partners with Victor. Would you repeat that question? Because I think that you're asking, have we entered into agreements with municipalities where we've agreed to build projects with 100% union labor? Is that what?
I was trying to ascertain whether in your general contractor role, you are the people who have the control over choosing to hire subcontractors who are either union or not. The other part of the question was, as a municipality, how can we make sure that you use union workers? Can we do that via our contract with you?
So it's within our power to choose which type of shop we sub projects out to. but it has to fit within the constraints of the budget. So certain, as Victor mentioned, certain trades are performed significantly better by union trades, and we actually use those. There's a number of those on every project that we do. Certain trades, it's really, I mean, painters, for example, or there's different trades where there's not a quality differential, but there could be a significant price differential, and you have to fit it. You have to fit it within the constraints of the particular budget. The types of projects that we build, like 5-story project, is generally not a union project. A union project would be a mid-rise or a high-rise that you might see in West Loop or the near north side, the larger types of projects. The Victor's attempted to get union bids from a variety of contractors on a lot of, 60-unit projects, or, the style of project that we build, and they're just really not that interested in it. Not that they would fit into our budget anyway.
What is the price, in your estimate, the differential on a union versus non-union?
I think
roughly?
On this project, the difference between full union and the blend of union, non-union that we're proposing would be somewhere between $7 and $10 million. It's pretty significant.
So you say couple with the fact that most unions or some unions don't even want the job because
And that's where you run
and if they do bid on it, they'll bid high.
Yeah, they'll give you a quote, like everybody's received quotes where it's like, well, I don't really want this job, but I'll give them a quote, and if they accept it, I'll do it because they give you a ridiculous quote. Everybody's seen those. That's what a number of those slots would get filled with.
Yeah, I mean, we all know unions want the bigger jobs, the big highway jobs, the big IDOT jobs, the big.
Victor specifically attempted to solve a building with 100% union labor at Rahm Emanuel's request in Chicago, and you could tell the results of that effort, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bigger than.
Earlier days with Michigan Avenue Real Estate Group, which everyone knows is Jerry Reinsdorf, a union, 100% union.
Yeah.
When I was doing this plan development for 11 years with them, I sat down, Rahm Emanuel brought everybody, all the union heads in a city hall meeting, 60 of them from every trade. We sat down, we said, I will guarantee you that I will send every project to you for bidding. And if you guys come within the numbers that we need to be, you have the job. 2, in 28 projects that we did, only 2 guys bid on it. 2 contractors actually bid on that job. We still use union. We use excavation foundation. We use a lot of union on our jobs, but some of them you cannot get as union contractor. The job is just too small. The contract is too small for them.
I guess maybe also to answer a little bit of Katie's question is we can always consider in the plan development, where possible and where, financially feasible, use a union, because that is our preference. But, we would have to know that it's reasonable and financially possible.
Yeah, and we could guide you as to which trades we typically do use that are union trades. We could make that fairly clear.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I had a meeting with Matt and Jessica on Friday talking through the Cigar Oasis issue, getting clarification on that and around this as well. And it sounded like that's something that we could put and that I think we should. And if you are speaking to the fact that it is going to be a sizable difference in, how much it is, I think as the process is going forward, it would be good for us to see even those union bids that may be unreasonable, but be able to see that. And then, but for you to use union when you can.
Yeah.
And to make that commitment, because we want we don't want issues with the building. I think I mentioned at the last meeting, we had an issue already at this development, not using union workers. So to the extent that it's able to and that you can show us, I think that would be important.
Yeah, it's an interesting. I was just asking Matt about that demolition because no, this was the demolition of the property on Madison, and we did bid it out, and we did want union, but the grant wasn't eligible for unions. It was weird.
The firm that was the lowest bidder also happened to be eligible for the state grant because it was a women-owned business. None of the 6 or 7 other proposals that all happened to be union were minority or women-owned business, so they wouldn't have been, the grant funds wouldn't have been eligible for that. So that's why that contract was awarded in that case. This will be different, certainly, but
that's a great example of, where a grant or you want that particular vendor because they are women-owned or minority-owned.
So you were looking for a percentage that was historically underutilized business categories.
Right.
Yes, for that project.
Yeah. That's what the grant specified, and that's what we wanted. So that's what we did.
I do have a question for Lance. When we write these contracts, how generally does that language look?
Well, it'll depend on what the other side will accept. So, for example, if a board, 100% union, so prevailing wage is required to be paid for all public improvements, and public improvements are those improvements that may be put in by the developer but will be granted back to the village because they're public, so sidewalks and things like that are in right of way that are the developers putting in. But prevailing wage can be required on more than what's required by law because it's a contract. And the village, if there ultimately is a contract, which there haven't even been negotiations yet, there hasn't even been really a formal application to get zoning entitlement for this. This is extremely preliminary.
Question is just our general process.
So so it would be in the redevelopment agreement, and that'll be where the prevailing wage requirement is and how it's drafted and the use of union labor. And the language for that, 100% may not be feasible. It may be, and also you have to get the other side to agree to that language. And then there'll be issues of, as has come up here today, well, how do we monitor it? Well, as has been brought up, maybe could we see the paperwork that comes in? That's the way you follow up on that. And either staff would typically do that, but elected officials can certainly see everything.
Yeah.
Would that fall under our permit expediter or our engineering department? Would they kind of be the eyes and ears on that?
For
To
making
vet-
sure that
well,
who,
I mean,
what
Matt,
union
obviously Matt,
trades
but-
are.
No. He's saying to ensure that it's in the plan development agreement, right? Is that what your question
No,
is?
what I'm asking is, if they bring in numbers, who's going to look at them?
Oh, yeah, the
Okay.
staff, I would say.
Right, yes.
Yeah, and he would see, I think we got to take you serious. If there's no bidders, union bidders, or there are, but they're.
Full disclosure.
Yeah, 100% more money. We've got to be cognizant of that, so I think that's a true statement that you just said.
And then just from what I could see about this whole lease litigation, because I read the record, it looks like what the argument was. So you heard references to Sedgwick and then Lake and Lathrop. So as I think another trustee pointed out, this goes back to 2010 when the TIF that actually has Whole Foods was terminated a couple years early because the village was in such dire straits after 2008 that it was terminated early because the village just needed its small portion of that TIF money, which was stuck in the TIF. But there was a concern that this property at one point was considered appropriate to potentially use TIF money for because the village knew it was contaminated because of the dry cleaner. Right. And the trustees decided they wanted to try to keep what was left in cash in the TIF up to a certain point to try to remediate that. But the village didn't own it, the village didn't control it, right. And so they got a developer. When people talk about vetting, the village went begging to get a local developer just to sign a redevelopment agreement, just to be able to hang on to some cash to potentially clean up that property. And that's why, so when the lease when the tenants here were saying their legal theory was one terminated and Lake and Lathrop was new. Lake and Lathrop, if you read those agreements, it says second restated redevelopment agreement. It's because the Villages and Lake and Lathrop's position was they just stepped into the shoes. It's all the same, and the court sided with them. So that was and their argument was this ended. Sedgwick is gone, and here's this new person who we don't even know. And so that was their argument.
And so that's the crux of the litigation.
And they had this renewal that said it took into account this property could be redeveloped, but it said if it falls through, basically, you've got your lease.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Before we end this discussion, I just want to ask, do you or Chuck have any ties or involvement with the property at Lake and Lathrop beyond Cigar Oasis? Just anything that we need to know making these decisions?
We have never, ever had anything to do with that property. Myself or Chuck. Chuck was not even part of that at that time. We became partners in 2020. Myself, I don't know him. I don't know Marty Paris. I know his kids. They hang around with my kids, the two sons. But I don't know him. I have nothing to do with him. I have never had nothing to do with him. And that's just the fact in reality.
And nothing else to do with that property that's at?
I have, we did bid on that property when JLL brought it to us 3 years ago through Wintrust.
2023.
Yeah, 23 or 24, we submitted a bid for that properties as is.
Okay.
Myself and Chuck.
So you submitted a bid on the Lake and Lathrop property in 2023 or 2024?
Correct. When they were collecting proposals for that property, we submitted to JLL and then...
It was the
correct.
receiver.
Yeah, the receiver.
Thank you.
Through the receiver, that is correct.
Which was a court-appointed receiver.
Court-appointed
Yes,
receiver.
thank you.
We did.
And just to finish that, the receiver, then Sedgwick went to court and said, you can't do this, we're still involved in this, and the court found with Sedgwick, and that's when all the conversations stopped on that.
And hence everything is on hold since that date.
Yeah. Thanks, Megan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, real good. Victor, Chuck, team, thank you so much for being here and answering these important questions. So we'll go ahead now and move on to number 5, which is the elected officials' comments and announcements. Erica, do you mind if I start with you?
Sure.
Okay.
Yep. So I'll start with a land acknowledgement after we've had this full meeting. As we begin, we are mindful that we hold these meetings on land that was once and still inhabited by indigenous people, including the Ojibwa, Chippewa, Menominee, Potawatomi nations, and more. We will remember our nation's history and honor the native people as stewards of this land that was colonized, and that River Forest continues to be a place many people from diverse backgrounds live and gather. Beyond that, just want to congratulate Officer Coleman, and I don't have anything further.
Jack. Okay, thank you. Lisa?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm going to use this time to, I guess, actually make a statement about my point of view with regard to the development at Ashland and Madison. As outlined in the Madison Development FAQs on the Village of River Forest website, the developer selection process for the property at Ashland and Madison was robust, and it was well executed by village staff working with JLL, and Ryan Group LLC. That work deserves recognition. It has been extensive, deliberate, and essential to ensuring the best outcome for the community. So I want to thank Jessica and Matt and everybody else who's been working on that. Based on the information gathered thus far from both the developer selection process and the village's planned developer process, which is still in process, I believe 531's is the strongest choice to develop the Madison and Ashland property. This conclusion is informed by multiple sources, including the finalist presentations to the Village Board of Trustees, site visits that we all thought it was a great idea to go on, to properties recently built by each finalist, attendance at one of the 4 community open houses, review of the exterior of a 531 Partners building in Galwood. As I was driving by, I decided to take a stop and look, and their first presentation to the Development Review Board. Several key considerations shape this view. 1, the quality of construction. 531 Partners uses a brick-on-block masonry approach, which produces durable, long-lasting buildings. While more expensive than alternate methods, it offers clear benefits: structural longevity, reduced noise transfer, and enhanced resident privacy. This reflects a commitment to quality that aligns with the long-term interests of the village. And yes, I did extensive research on brick-on-block versus joisted masonry on Podium if you'd like me to share what I found. Second, thoughtful design and problem solving. 531 Partner discourse revealed a penchant for practical innovation, including an approach to building the underground stormwater system that impressed the Village of River Forest head of Public Works. Jack, you can probably speak about that stormwater underground system, and they put forth ideas for construction methods designed to minimize disruption to neighbors. In addition, design choices such as placing the rooftop deck along Madison Street and situating larger units on Ashland reflect an effort to balance livability with neighborhood sensitivities. Landscaping and integration. Observations of completed projects show a consistent effort to incorporate greenery in ways that both enhance aesthetics and buffer residents from surrounding activity. Financing approach. 531 Partners plans to invest significant upfront equity before securing additional financing, reducing a reliance on extended pre-construction lending. Now that plan might change, but that's the current plan. This can help streamline timelines and lower the risk of delays, an important consideration for both residents and the village. They have a proven track record. As Victor said, he has built more than 100 buildings across the Chicagoland area over 3 decades. He has demonstrated the ability to deliver projects on time and at a high standard of quality. To me, that experience provides confidence in execution. They do have a long-term ownership mindset. Unlike developers who build to sell, 531 Partners focuses on long-term ownership and management. This creates strong incentives to maintain quality, attracts stable tenants, offer long-term leases, and ensure a positive living environment over time. Part of what they have to do is look at the traffic studies. They have to understand noise and things like that. And they have studies that are still yet to be done to address all those things. And those same issues that matter to the community really matter to their tenants. So if they want those tenants, they have to make sure that it works for everybody. They also have a commitment to public engagement. 531 Partners has already participated in village board meetings, community open houses, and their first DRB meeting, with the planned development process still ongoing. In addition, they have already committed to participation in future board meetings. Thus far, they have demonstrated a willingness to listen, respond, and refine their plans. I think today is a great example of that mindset. Yes, development at Madison and Ashland will shape the character of the area for decades, and it is critical to select a partner who understands both the opportunity and the obligation that comes with the role. In my view, 531 Partners meets those requirements. They bring a combination of quality construction, practical innovation, financial readiness, and a long-term commitment that aligns with the village's goals. Just as important, they have demonstrated respect for the community with full participation in our selection process, including, again, ad hoc meetings like today. For these reasons, I believe 531 Partners is well positioned to deliver a project the village can be proud of, one that will serve residents today and in the future. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Lisa. Rez?
Thank you. I thought, first of all, good evening, everyone. I just wanted to add that I think that the discussion we had was very helpful and fruitful and hopefully clarifying for the audience that was here as well as for anybody who listens to the recording. The only thing I wanted to add is that, I keep hearing about, we're not using union trades, but I worked with a lot of public institutions and pre-K all the way to state universities, and this issue always comes up where they say you're not using union shops. I'm saying that I wanted to clarify is that there's no state or federal requirement that you have to use a union to do the work. What is required is you have to pay the prevailing wage.
Yep.
And that's where I think, although it didn't come out clear enough, I think in the presentation, is that when it comes time for example, the example of where you met with the city and there were union shops that didn't want to bid on it, it wasn't because they weren't interested. It was because they know they can get prevailing wage, but that's not what they want.
Right.
They want a higher rate, which I don't fault a union for trying to get that. But there are people who think that, oh, they're not using a union shop, and therefore, I mean, I had to answer complaints from the Illinois Department of Labor, who manages the prevailing wage issues, and they come to me and they report, hey, you're not you're not paying prevailing wage because you're not using, they say you're not using a union. No, just because we're not using a union doesn't mean we're not paying prevailing wage, and that's all the state looks for. And so I wanted to clarify that because I do hear a number of people who will say, hey, they're not using union, and making the assumption that we're not paying the prevailing wage, and I think those two get conflated.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah,
So
it's good clarity.
And just to clarify, what I'm trying to say is I don't think it's a question about paying prevailing wage or not. It's more about making sure that the work is done well,
Yeah.
and that there are no issues. And we know that when you use union, that there is a higher standard, right?
Well, in all due respect, since I've had these projects before too, not all projects go well with union, and I'm not trying to badmouth
I
them.
don't.
I'm not saying
It's
they
trying
are,
to
but,
mitigate. It's trying to mitigate the issue.
and I'm just saying too that one of the other responsibilities is the cost of what governments have to pay for these projects. So and not all unions, so don't get me wrong, but some of these projects, if you enter, for example, those PLAs, which are, project labor agreements that you're only going to use unions, that already excludes some non-union shops who could probably do the work and not have to pay, and they will give you a lower bid. And I know what you're saying. You're assuming that just because it's a non-union job, that it won't go well. And
Nope, there's not an assumption of that. It's making sure that when you use unions, there are certain rules and things that they have to follow, and so that you can be assured that they're going to follow those because of union. And I think what I was asking for, in terms of like being able to look at the bids and things, is again mitigating what you are talking about with the higher costs for union. So.
Yeah. I think you're both
I
right.
spoke my piece. You heard what the man said. I can't guarantee that, and I'm not saying a union shop is not going to do a good job, but I'm also not saying, I am also saying that just because you're not a union shop, it doesn't mean you're not going to do a good job. That's all I'm saying. It really looks at what the type of work and the assurance is and you got to manage the project.
Yeah. All right.
And look at the costs.
Right.
So.
Right. No, good, all good
Yeah.
points. Rosa.
Just wanted to congratulate Officer Coleman on a job well done, and thank you to all the officers.
Yeah, thanks. Kate?
Yep. First, I wanted to just get on the record the reason why we have a revised packet, because I was curious about it and I didn't want to have to compare line by line the packets. So I reached out to Luke, who explained to me that it was just a reordering, a reshuffling of the items that were already on the agenda. Am I correct about that?
Yes, that is correct. The special presentations were previously higher up on the agenda. That revision moved them to the location they are today.
Right. And in the future, if we do have a revised packet, I think it'd be helpful for everyone involved, those around the table and those who are interested in our meetings, to know what the revision is so that there's no questions. And then also, I want to reiterate, similar to Trustee Gillersumi, who made a substantive comment about the Cigar Oasis and situation and the developer, I have a process issue that I just want to make a statement about. And I want to reiterate the comments that I made at our last village board meeting. That was the first time that I was made aware that that potential developer for Madison and Ashland had an involvement with Cigar Oasis and the Lake and Lathrop project, and that awareness was, my first awareness was that evening, just right before the meeting when I received an email from a resident. And I'm reiterating this because there's been some confusion on this point based on quotes and input from village staff in a recent Wednesday Journal article by Greg Voss. So I want to clarify that. And then I also want to ask, there were a good number of residents who spoke up about this issue tonight and asked questions about it. And I want to ask, have we captured those questions, and do we plan to address them in the FAQs or whatever we're calling what Jess Golka is putting together for us?
Yes, we will. I think a few of them have been addressed, but we debrief with staff after every village board meeting and go through public comment and everything that comes up here, and we'll work to make sure that those questions, I took notes, but we've got the recording, and we'll go through the minutes to make sure that we address
Okay.
those questions.
Yeah. Great. I thought some of those points were very well taken, and one in particular that struck me is the EDC's desire to be involved and their qualifications to to review the potential development and to provide input that would be helpful for us as we make our decisions. So I want to just go on the record to say I personally would like to have the EDC and the Traffic and Safety Commissions look at what we get in this application and the and the reports that are going to be coming to us about the traffic and all the reports, the economic reports as well. I think it benefits us. It benefits the DRB as well, and that's why we have all of this talent on these commissions. Let's use it.
Yeah. No, and I agree with you. I mean, in fact, that's what we try to do, although we got criticized for that too, because they're like, it just comes and now you've got it on your FAQ. But it doesn't matter. I mean, they're good questions and we should answer them. And it's good for us because I think sometimes these questions are taken out of context about the EDC. I think the EDC met 3 times on this issue in executive session. And they talked about it, I believe. I mean, I wasn't there.
Yes, they did, because I was present at one of the meetings. So if we go back into some of the records, we made the presentation with all 7 developers to the EDC.
Right.
We explained the circumstances around the first 2 and the requirements that they had, and the time frames that they had that wouldn't work for us. And we did have that discussion.
Have we received the EDC's response to that? Have we received their comments and their recommendations or input?
I don't recall the date of it, Jessica's, but maybe
Yeah,
we
well,
go back
should.
take a look at it.
That's what I'm looking for. Fine that you talked with them, but I want to hear from them. And I want the DRB to hear from them as well.
That's why I'm asking Jessica if she get us the date, and then you'll have the recording.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I think the notes should be readily available.
I don't disagree.
I know
I'm just saying
they met.
I was there for
didn't,
that,
but
yes.
I know the EDC did meet on this, and that's why we got to be careful because things do get taken out of context. And truthfully, when we had the EDC very much involved with the zoning update, and they very much was in favor of the zoning update, and that was a criticism because they were like, well, they don't know what they're doing. So we just have to take everything into the what we're trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish. But EDC is absolutely, someone we rely on, and the Traffic and Safety. Katie, good point. We mentioned that once that report comes in, Traffic and Safety Commission should absolutely look at it as well, because we want their help. We're trying to keep commissioners on different commissions, just so you know.
I don't think that any past criticism about input or a recommendation from one of our commissions is a reason not to include them in the process.
Oh, I didn't say that. We've included them.
I'm not saying that you said that. I'm just giving my input.
Yeah. No, good point. No, we've included them in the zoning updates, and we included them in this because it's so important. I mean, they're very good.
So if we have included them, I'd like to see their input.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll make sure that's point. The EDC, Victor came to present at an open session meeting after it was introduced to the village board to discuss the project. Was talking about retail space with the expectation that it would come back for more discussion with the EDC throughout this process as we prepare the application.
That was
And we'll make sure that the board is updated on those comments and feedback.
That would be great. Thank you.
yeah. And
February meeting, so the minutes haven't been approved yet because they haven't met again since then.
well, that's all right. I mean, we could,
That's why you might have a hard time finding it.
but there was 3 times. So
Sure, but the last one this time.
yeah. Well, let's.
Well, I'll just say this. I didn't look for them, so it's not like I had a hard time because I didn't look for them. But I didn't know to look. I would hope that any input on this is going to be pushed to us, and that we don't have to scrounge around and look for it.
Yep. Yep.
It was directed to the EDC and the DRB at the January 26th.
Yeah.
Microphone, please.
Yeah. Go. You can say it. Is that working? I don't even know. It always dies. Yeah.
At the January 26th board meeting, when the presentation was initially introduced here, it was directed to the EDC and the DRB meeting. The EDC met, I want to say, that Wednesday, which was like January 3rd or 4th, and then the February, sorry.
Yeah.
And then the DRB introduction was January 19th. So to your point, yes, and that would all be part of the application once it all comes to finally come to you guys.
Great, and they know that we'll be looking at their input and their recommendations, so they should be giving us something solid.
Yes. I mean,
Absolutely.
Well, once the application comes in. So what happened is we directed. Well, there was a couple of meetings, and then we directed it back to the EDC and the DRB, right? So and the EDC gave us input. Now, the question is, the DRB is the next commission that takes on this application. I mean, we can have the EDC kind of co-manage it if you like, but that would be unusual. I would think that we'd go back to the EDC for retail ideas. But, I mean, we could do anything you want. It's just that there's a certain role that EDC plays. Go ahead. I don't want to, whatever you guys want. It's just that the EDC, all I'm trying to say is the EDC was involved. Yeah. Yeah. And I want to cut you off.
Do you have something to say about this?
Yeah,
I will go with my turn.
Okay.
If I think of it again, I'll add it to yours.
Okay. Very good. Sorry, I didn't mean to get you guys off. But, okay, Megan.
I want to say thank you to everyone who's willing to have some really hard conversations. This is really important, and the hard conversations are warranted. We have very rare development opportunities, and it's very important that we make the best project possible. Our function is stewardship of these scarce resources. I know we're all holding that very closely to our hearts. So I just want to say thank you, that I appreciate everyone who's willing to engage in these hard conversations. And while I don't necessarily think the EDC needs to co-manage a process, I do think they would like to see the completed application. Yep. Traffic and safety should see anything related to traffic and safety, and then maybe filter that to the DRB so that they can provide us their full and comprehensive recommendation with the input from our other wise commissioners. Since we have appointed all of these people who have a lot of expertise in these different areas, I would love for all of that to come on board as we move through this process, as they are as interested in stewarding our resources as we are. And that's all I have to say.
You reminded me, haha. So it seems that the DRB is intended to be the quarterback here, and were I the quarterback, I would like to have the input, all the relevant input in front of me. So I think I agree with your suggestion that EDC gets a chance to look at it and give their comments to the DRB. Or the DRB has an opportunity to see how the EDC weighs in.
Yeah, I mean, we could do any. I mean, remember, we don't go through these processes every day, so this is a unique opportunity to do whatever we need to do and get it right. But typically, the DRB is the vetting, if you will, or a commission, and not to say that the traffic and safety and or EDC can't give their input, and if that's what the desire of, and they have so far, not the traffic, but EDC has. But we'll make whatever we need to make sure that we get a lot of eyes on it, for sure. We just have to make sure that we don't, intervene with the development review process. You know? So thank you. Those are good comments, Katie and Megan. Thanks.
I got a long list tonight.
Oh, wow. Okay.
First of all, I want to welcome back our captain.
Yeah.
Congratulations to Matt and Maggie, and welcome back. I also want to recognize Jessica and Luke in your absence. They carried the ball. They ran, all sorts of patterns, and they got it done. So feel I'm going on Katie's football analogy.
Yeah.
You know, they did a great job. They answered the questions when the questions needed to be answered, and they stepped up, and congratulations to both of you. So thank you. Congratulations to Officer Coleman. It was interesting because I had a little experience with Officer Coleman the other day, and, you know, so we took care of something, and
We won't ask.
we won't ask. But the chief is taking care of it, and Officer Coleman did a yeoman's job. Around the corner, we have some holidays coming up, and so for those of you who celebrate Passover and Easter, enjoy your celebrations with your families. I also want to reach out to again congratulate Chief on your annual report. You did a great job. Correct me if I'm wrong. You're fully staffed, and you still have a couple guys in training. Is that correct? So, and I think that's the first time we can say that in a little bit of time. So, congratulations to you and your team.
No.
And then,
What?
What?
We've been staffed. We've been fully staffed.
I said
Okay.
it was a period of time. And then I have one other thing I'd like to share in light of some of the conversations that we're having today. I'd encourage all of us to be thoughtful and responsible in how we share information and form conclusions about members of our community. In the recent past, we've seen individuals, including a member of the Economic Development Commission last year and a local businessman, being impacted by hearsay and rapid judgment.
Right.
Extending the benefit of doubt and assuming positive intent are not just acts of courtesy, they're essential to maintaining a fair, credible, and constructive public discourse. When we take the time to listen with an eye towards true understanding and approach concerns with care, we are not only supporting one another as individuals, but also strengthening the integrity and reputation of the entire River Forest community. And so please take those words.
Good words. Thanks. Well, yeah, I also, to go along the lines of what Bob just said, I want to welcome Matt back and congratulate you and Maggie on a beautiful child. So we want to see more pictures. Also, I want to give a huge thank you to Jessica. You did a phenomenal job while he was gone. Yep. Yeah. I want to, and I also want to say good night to Max and Maddie. Right? I know they're listening on YouTube. Jessica said, when I'm here, her children are listening, and and they're going to be mortified that they were just announced. So on behalf of the village board and myself, we want to give you these wonderful flowers and say thank you, Jessica, for all the work. And you stepped in with, beautifully. So thank you again. I mean, it's not an easy job, but you guys did. And so you got a good wingman here.
Maggie thanks you too.
Yeah, Meg. I know. True that. All right. I don't have much other than that. I just want, and Luke, I don't want to forget you, Luke, but
He's taking the flowers
you guys can share the flowers.
Yeah, they share the flowers.
I mean, yep, Luke. I mean, sometimes we try hard, and you work diligently at everything. So it's really good to see you all work together and the staff work together. I just look out, and you guys all support each other, which is what we need, because we're really volunteers here, and so we need true support. Okay, so I don't have much more to say. I think I congratulated Officer Coleman on his, and then one time we'll like to hear what happened to you, Bob. So, all right, with that, we'll go ahead and go on to the consent agenda, if you don't mind.
I'd like to pull items
6B
and 6H.
Yep.
Motion to approve consent agenda items A. Which ones did you want, Katie? I'm sorry.
B and H you want.
B and H.
Okay. C, D, E, F, G.
Okay.
Second.
Any questions on any of those? Anything on the bird day? No? Okay. Let's go ahead and approve the consent agenda, those items. You know that.
Yep. Item 6A, World Migratory Bird Day and Lights Out for Birds Initiative proclamations. C, Police Department 2025 Annual Report. D, Contract Approval, Collective Bargaining Agreement with the Fraternal Order of Police, River Forest Lodge 46, Illinois FOP Labor Council. E, Contract Approval, Facilitation of the Sale of Fire Truck 219, Garage Technologies, Inc. F, February 2026 financial report. G, administration department report. Trustee Bachner?
Yes.
Trustee O'Connell?
Yes.
Trustee Gillis?
Yes.
Trustee Vasquez?
Yes.
Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Cascatello?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. So we'll take them individually, so if I can get a motion on B in a second. Talk through it.
Motion to approve consent agenda item B.
Okay,
Second.
okay.
So I pulled this because there was a discrepancy or some confusion in the proposed agreement on page 10 of the packet. Section 2 of the agreement relating to the term of the agreement. Agreement term shall be extended for an additional 12-month period from March 25th, 2026 through March 24th, 2028, which is 24 months, not 12 months.
So it should be 27.
So I'm not sure what we're voting on.
What are we voting on?
A one.
1 year. 2 years? Yeah.
So in 2 years, the price stays the same for 2 years?
Yes, the price would be the same for the 2 years.
So the increases are over 2 years? The 5%, okay. All right. So go ahead. So 2 years.
No, that was it. It was it's a 2-year term. That's the intention of the agreement.
So additional 24 months.
24 months then, yes.
Okay, so that's the change that we should make in section 2 of the agreement. Rather than saying 12 months, it should say 24-month period.
Yeah.
Correct?
Correct.
Then I'm prepared to vote on it.
Okay. All right, with that change, thank you for catching it. We will take the, read it out loud and take the vote.
Item 6B, contract renewal, Safe Built LLC, plan review services. Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Cascatello?
Yes.
Trustee Bachner?
Yes.
Trustee O'Connell?
Yes.
Trustee Gillis?
Yes.
Trustee Vasquez?
Yes.
Okay, last but not least, the Village Board of Trustees meeting. So H, if I can get a motion in a second. we'll
Motion to
switch it.
approve consent agenda item H.
Second.
Okay.
Okay, I pulled this because I wanted to revise the minutes from our last meeting in relation to my trustee comments. And I had reached out to Luke earlier today, and he said the way to do it is to revise it in this manner. So should I read my proposed revision, or do you have what I sent to you earlier today?
You have it.
You want me to read it into the record?
Right, we would need to, it's a good idea
Yeah,
to
it's a
do
good
that
idea. I would
because
think
it's
so,
going to
too.
be on the spot like this.
Right.
Okay, and so striking whatever was written about my comments in the packet and replacing it with Trustee Brennan raised concerns about not hearing about the potential Madison Street developers' connection to Cigar Oasis from the village and its outside advisors prior to hearing about this from residents this evening. She stated that she would have preferred to have learned about this connection as part of the village's own vetting process rather than from concerned residents. She requested that the village's advisors brief the board about this so that the board can take into account any and all relevant information as it makes decisions.
Yep, and I'll just ask, and I assume it's good, Rosa and Luke, in terms of, I didn't listen to the audio, I'm gonna.
Yeah, I went back and I listened, and yeah, I was fine with that.
Okay, super, then it makes sense, let's do it. So, change noted, and anybody got a question or comment on that?
Just so I'm clear, it's the March 3rd board?
No, that's wrong too. It
See,
should
that's what I'm
be
saying.
9th,
It's saying
yeah.
March 3rd. You meant March 9th. Is that correct?
I was
There
referring
was a
to-
Scrivener's error on the agenda.
Yeah, the
Okay.
agenda had it
Well,
on the table.
Okay, I'm changing that too.
Yeah, well,
yeah, I
that's
was
I
gonna
caught that,
change
so
it.
that's why I'm like,
No
you
worries.
meant the 9th.
The
Okay.
9th, yes.
Okay.
Okay, yep,
Now.
no issues. All right, so
Yeah.
duly noted. Let's, anybody have questions or comments further other than the two changes? Hearing none, let's go ahead and take the vote.
Okay, item 6H as amended. Village Board of Trustees meeting minutes, March 9th, 2026. Trustee Vasquez?
I'm going to abstain because I wasn't there, but I just corrected the date because I know you were referring to it.
Got it. Trustee Gillis?
Yes.
Trustee O'Connell?
Yes.
Trustee Bachner?
Yes.
Trustee Cascatello?
Yes.
Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Okay, motion is passed. So we have no executive session, right? What?
Oh. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, well, yes, yes. We should have said that in our comments, so. I did look to you guys, though. I just put you all in one category. Yeah. No, that was
You had
great.
to
I
look.
mean, yeah,
Yeah.
people don't realize how important those, union contracts are, and we've heard about them in our community, so thank you for minimizing that. Yeah. All right, so with that, let's, if I can get a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Okay.
Second.
Here, second, okay. Okey dokey.
Okay, Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Cascatello?
Yes.
Trustee Bachner?
Yes.
Trustee O'Connell?
Yes.
Trustee Gillis?
Yes.
Trustee Vasquez?
Yes.
And
Okay.
President Ducey.
We are adjourned. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.